Today, I'm the State Opioid Treatment Authority. If you work for one of the clinics and when you have to follow all the regulations and you get angry about it, I'm the guy who wrote all of them. So I'm the one to be angry with. One of the things that I'm tasked with at the department, I've just actually been given an additional task just a few weeks ago, is to come up with those options that are cost efficient, that are effective, that are going to, and effective means save lives, that allow folks to get into sobriety, to get into recovery, those options that can serve the most people for the smallest resource, because that's, unfortunately, that's where we are today. More and more problems and fewer dollars to deal with those problems. Addiction in general, and you look at this and people say, and I have just covered the state doing an anti-stigma methadone presentation. Some of you have heard, and it was amazing. I did that. Actually get it 8 or 9 times before it was done. I was actually yelled down at one and wasn't able to finish. I got some of the very best reviews and evaluations at the end I've ever gotten, and I got the worst that I've ever gotten. This is a interesting topic, opioid treatment. Certainly brings out the opinions in folks. But this is a vital form of care. One of the things that we know, just looking at addiction in general, and recovery rates and relapse rates for substance dependence in general are 40 to 60%. But relapse rates for folks that are supposed to attend to their type 1 diabetes are 30 to 50%. And relapse rates for hypertension and for asthma are 50 to 70%. So folks that are chemically dependent, folks that have substance dependence issues are better candidates for recovery than are folks with hypertension, folks with asthma. Now, we get into OTP in particular, methadone treatment in particular. One of the problems is that within addictions, with methadone, with opioid dependence, the recovery rates drop very far below that 30 to 50% if somebody's going to try abstinence-based treatment. That does not mean that abstinence-based treatment does not work. It works for a lot of people, but it works for fewer people than abstinence-based treatment works for fewer folks that are opioid dependent than it does for folks with other dependencies. Methadone treatment allows patients, allows the folks in this clinic to get their lives back, to get their jobs back, to get their families back, to get their self-respect back, to develop self-efficacy, to become functioning members of the community again. And the problem with methadone treatment, the biggest problem with methadone treatment, 14 clinics in the state of Oklahoma, 14 OTPs. Now that's counting the Veterans Administration. I have one here in Oklahoma City that I don't have to regulate that one, but 13 that fall under our auspices was about 3,000 patients. The problem with those 3,000 patients and those 13 clinics is the successes are invisible. In a year's time, you're probably going to deal with a methadone maintenance patient at the bank, getting a loan, at the doctor's office, at your child's school, and you're not going to know it because these folks are back into the society, back into the system, and they're functioning well. They are no longer experiencing problems. Methadone maintenance is recovery. That's one of the things that really causes people to get angry. But it's in all the manuals, it's in all the things that we're supposed to follow as clinicians, the DSM-4, the ASAM. Methadone maintenance treatment is recovery. And folks do well in this form of treatment. Again, I am glad to be here. I'm glad to represent the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services today. I believe in methadone treatment. I believe in medication-assisted treatment in general because there are other forms of medication-assisted treatment besides methadone treatment. I mean, there are forms for alcohol. There are a lot of different things that are out there, and we're starting to look at those and work at those also. The final thing I'll say is these 3,000 patients that are in the OTPs today, those are folks that were typically in detox and in long-term residential treatment and in halfway houses, and who also tend to relapse. and have to go through it again and again and again, taking up the most costly treatment slots that we have over and over again. And the problem is when opioid dependent people go back out, they don't all make it back to recovery. There's a high mortality rate. We address that with methadone treatment. And these folks are in recovery, these folks are doing well, and it's 3,000 people that this clinic and the other clinics in the state have pulled out of that system. That's stress taken off the detox programs, stress taken off the residential treatment programs, stress taken off the halfway houses. So again, I appreciate what you guys are doing. Glad to be asked to be here today.
Thank you.